Good morning, you're with the candidate. I am Potus candidate Michael Crosby for 2024. I'm dealing with the ongoing situations that are happening. I have had the last several years being very intense, a lot of violent attacks against me and my campaign. I've been shot at. There's been enormous amounts of violence. There's a situation, my vehicles, 29 vehicles basically have been destroyed over the course of the last couple years, 14 different locations. I also have 14 RVs, respectively, that are gone now. We have them, they're tracked on SAR, everything's recorded, nobody's effectively totally getting away. It's expensive to rework the old data. The legal system is not cooperating the way they should be. National security has been violated. There's the big loss. 1 year ago, those 14 RVs were set to start out the campaign. They were going to begin their process, doing a lot of their work, literally driving on the highways, on and off the highways, and then being able to go to certain event areas at certain times. But effectively, a lot of their purpose was to be seen on highways so that people would see the Michael Crosby for president on the side. They would see the links for the websites. They'd be understand to be able to get to whatever the sites are. I was setting up well over 200 websites to be available in that area. Basically, so there's going to be a lot of different, you're going to have the CWOW websites, the baseline Crosby for president, a lot of different websites, so to speak. Many of them would be specific to subject direct. They are forms of statements, as they are also a domain name.com, so to speak. So, basically, the calculations we came up with, 1 million people a day plus would basically see these RVs, going on and off. If you look at, for instance, in any crowded state, such as maybe California, you look at the LA, the San Francisco traffic systems, and in LA is one where you get 1 million people a day. You got 14 RVs going on and off the freeways, traveling the clover leaves. You're talking an exposure ratio that's well over 1 million people a day. And so this is over a year, so basically people would have people would have seen the vehicles multiple times over the course of weeks and months, so it's a repeat performance. Basically I'm way past the 365 million exposure mark that did not happen. Was going to happen, was scheduled to happen, didn't happen. And of course you got the upgrades, as the campaign would be activating, there would be more money flowing into the campaign, more services activated, and I'll talk about the services that were set to be connected with those RVs, the purpose for what those RVs are going to do. And so now, if I bring us up to date with the scheduled upgrade layout plan, basically about 7 to 9 million people a day are not seeing my RVs. That's just the RVs. And so this is part of the insurrection, part of the damage that's ongoing, so that, basically the difference is somebody, myself, that was basically set to become a major candidate is basically knocked out of the election at a competitive level early on. So when people talk about corruption and rigged elections and stolen votes, I can stand up and say, look, well, here's all the hard evidence right here. I could sit there and look at both the major candidates right now and say, excuse me, I'd like to talk about y'all have stolen some of my votes, and the situation would be completely different. I mean, for instance, who would be the main Democratic candidate could be completely different, effectively. The startup sequence for this election cycle doesn't have mass participation of the already, again, prepaid for resources because they've been attacked by insurrectionists. And then we have the dereliction of duty involving many types of government personnel. This is a very serious situation because with my situation, there's national security involved. There are high-end development items. There's technology that's been stolen. So that's kind of part of the morning wake-up of the reality to realize that technically you're listening to somebody who's supposed to be a major candidate. But because we have insurrection, because we have acts of war being committed against a candidate, against a campaign, the nation is in fact at war. So we have a lot of things happening. There's a lot of emotions out there. You have the recent attempted assassination on convicted felon Trump. That's an intense situation. If I were to talk about my close encounters involving active situations where gunfire occurs, when you're getting shot at. I've been shot at many times. It's very intense. It's a big thing to sit there, and deal with, say, when you're talking about an active situation where you're the target or you're the potential target. It's gunfires as you actually have bullets coming by your heads and hitting objects nearby, and how this occurs as opposed to being nearby to where you just have shots fired. That's a completely different situation. Many people will go through life and they'll hear gunfire, and there's some place nearby there's gunfire, but it's different than a localization where you're basically the target area, whether it's you or somebody near you or whatever. I basically got about 7 instances where I was the target or believed to be the target, and some of those are very intense. The situation, some of the most intense moments involving gunfire and gun situations in my life were in vehicles, basically. I have 2 particular instances in which basically I come under fire while in a vehicle, and these are rather intense. It's hard to explain in a way. I'll try to explain and convey a bit about what it's like to be traveling down the road. In one instance, you're traveling down the road, and all of a sudden your side glass just explodes. And this is very intense because you've got the projectile that has struck the window. You've got the force of glass that is going in multiple directions. You have this spread pattern. You've got primary force that is hitting at certain angles. It's coming across and striking. You've got this force from that's translated from the projectile, from the bullet, that basically has converted. All this energy is converted, and you've got all this glass just hitting your head, as basically hundreds of pieces of glass are striking the side of your head, like somebody just walked up and just really smacked you in the side of the head. So you've got glass that's shooting into the side of your head, and it's going through your hair, it's hitting your ear, you're getting cut, it's sticking all into the side of your face. You've got all these different sizes. You got lots of these little pieces of glass, or like squares, and then you got all these little tiny shards, little shards, and they're flying around and they're coming, they're hitting you all at once. This is occurring. It's very rapid. You got little tiny shards that are basically embedding themselves in your cheek and the side of your face. And it's getting into your eyebrows and the side of your eyes, and you've got glass dust into this because you've got these multiple sizes. You got these really small just dust particles that are glass, and it's just going across from your left side all the way across inside your vehicle, and you can't. It's like all of a sudden you can't even hardly see the window inside the vehicle because there's so many particles of glass that are just going across your vision area as this event occurs. So, and with me, everything goes into slow motion. It's snap, a switch goes off, and you're hypersensitive instantly, and just everything that is occurring is being computed on these little micro levels, and time is just totally changed. It's morphed into something different. And you're dealing with what you have to do, and now you realize what is happening, and you have to deal with the understanding of your safety and that you're going to have to duck, but you're literally driving down the road, so you have your hand locked in the steering wheel. And, you have your hand locked in the steering wheel, and you have to figure out what's going on, where's the bullets coming from, what is the situation with the shooter or shooters, are there multiple shooters, all these things going through your head. So your hypersensitivity is putting out like this sonographic feeling where you can reach out and see not just your vision, but it's like you can feel everything. Like you can feel the trees and the vehicles and the buildings near you, and you're working with a snapshot, and your brain is dealing with this segment of dealing with 8 frames per second, where you're snapshotting, and you're trying to get a read on how many objects, which way they're going, how can you move, where the threat's coming from, what do you have to do, because now you're going to have to duck, you're going to have to duck, you're going to have to get down between the seats, but you're driving down the road, so your brain, you're also taking a snapshot of what the situation is, which lane you're in, how there are vehicles on the side, where those vehicles are at, what is your speed that you're moving at, So your brain is setting up this recreation that's in 3D, a 3D flash situation of intertwining these flashes of these snapshots, and then estimations of, based upon your speed, what's going on with these snapshots. As you're going down, you're hanging onto the wheel and you're going down to basically get as much coverage as you can, and you're bringing your body down and your head's going down, basically where now your radio is right in front of your head. You can no longer see out the front glass because you're ducking down, and you have these snapshots that you have taken of the situation that are in your head, estimating your travel time, because as you're going down, you're doing estimates. There's snapshot, basically understanding where the movement factor has moved. It's this like a 3D visualization. And you're also trying to compute what the threat is. Where did the gunfire come from? Your left window went out, so you're assuming it's left of you. So as you're computing all of this information, it's just very intense. And this is just just all happening so fast when it happens. And so you're driving, you're ducking, you're driving down the road, and you have these snapshots in your head that you're recalling about what's going on down the road, and you're listening. You've got your audio hypersensitivity. You're listening to see if you're hearing more gunfire, how it might be echoing, so that you can get a better idea, where is the shooter at or shooters at, how is this occurring, how to make an adjustment as you're in the middle of the situation, because you're the target, so it's you're making all these evaluations to be able to compute the safest move. And so these snapshots are going on in your head, and you're estimating where you think you are, and then you come up and you have to lift up just real quick to take a quick peek. You take another snapshot and you go right back down, and you're comparing that next snapshot, the real snapshot of where you're really at, compared to those estimated snapshots of what you thought was going on and where you believed you were basically traversing, basically negotiating yourself through the situation. So you're comparing the accuracy to see how close you are, maybe how far off you were, and things look good. It's like, yeah, it's really good. And then you're on a curved street as this is happening, and you have to start turning the vehicle, and you're basically in that situation where this is occurring again. You're also pressing your foot on the gas. You are accelerating. You've gone to a 2-foot operational status. You've got 1 foot on your brake. You've got another foot that's on the accelerator. You've got the accelerator to the floor, and you're trying to accelerate as fast, obviously as fast as you can away from this danger area and get to a safe area, so. And then so you're just moving along. Your speed's accelerating, and you're going to come up again and take a quick snapshot, and all of this just happens so fast when you're in a situation like this, and you've got glass that's embedded into your face. You've got glass. It's shot in. It's embedded into your ear. And you're injured. You're like, yeah. You're gonna. That in moments you're gonna be bleeding. From all of this glass that is basically exploded into the side of your face and your head, and there's glass everywhere. You can feel all of this glass all over the back side of your hand, where these shards have just stuck in, and there's just hundreds of them. There's hundreds of little tiny fine pieces of glass that basically have just stuck themselves in the back side of your hand. All of this happening at once. So then you're doing the snapshots, and you're trying to understand where you believe that the shooter or shooters are at that you know about, back behind your left. So after the second time you take a snapshot, that's the second time you come up, you take another snapshot. You go down, you realize that you're tracking fairly well. You make a very slight adjustment. You barely touch the wheel a little further to the left, because you're on a curved road on this situation, and you're continuing, and you're still accelerating, accelerator to the floor, and basically you're realizing how many feet you're progressing. You get to the point where you go, okay, we're getting to the point where I should be maybe a quarter mile away. So you're going to come back up again, take that snapshot, see where you're at, see what you have to do. Now you have to realize the situation, and you're coming back down as low as you can, keeping some vision area out the window, and now you're going to adjust to what's happening with the road, and you're going to have to decide to turn off left or right, as basically you have a street opportunity coming up to basically get you completely out of any type of projectile pathway. And as this is occurring, you have to be thinking about whether or not there's a secondary setup. Is this part of the designed reaction to try to get you to basically be turning left or right and end up right straight into a trap, a designed situation? So you have to be evaluating that as all of this is happening. So you make the decision to say, no, I'm going to just keep continuing down the larger highway piece, and let's go a few more blocks. Let's not take the first section. Let's go go up 3 blocks, and then review. Are we going to turn there? And then you say nope. Go one more. Go a 4th block. So 4th block, you're going to now take a left and try to get into a safe situation. So you do that. And now you can basically kind of assess and slow down, and you have this glass all over you. You have your hand on the wheel. You're not going to undo the hand on your wheel. You have to keep it locked on the wheel because you've got glass embedded into everything, and you don't want to move. The one spot that is safe for your hand to hang on to is the area that you basically were already covering with your hands. So you keep your hand locked. You're not going to remove that hand because that's your control point, and you have to hang on to that. So you're dealing with that type of a situation, and you can't let go, because if you let go, then you've got a steering wheel that has shards of glass stuck intermittently throughout it, and it's stuck in your dashboard. You've got it all over your face. You're beginning to feel a little bit of blood that is now coming down your face and the side of your head, and it's quite a little situation, you could say, to be computing all of these aspects. And that is really, really something, So now you get to the point now where you're still, everything is like you can feel it. You're just in a 3D world when you're hypersensitive. I've always been that way, so the senses on that. So now you're in a situation basically where your left hand is hanging onto the steering wheel, and you're driving. You've manipulated things. I think I've left a few key moments out of manipulating the shifter on the vehicle, because I basically downshifted to be able to get more power control with the vehicle. So that was one of the most interesting encounters that I've had. I had another very intense encounter. You're driving on the freeway, and you're basically doing 70 miles an hour, and all of a sudden your vehicle that you are controlling decides it's just going to make a hard left. It's just bam, and it's just a snap move, and you're veering off to the left, and it's happening so fast. It's like an impact. It's like somebody's crashed into you or something, and so your body, the vehicle is going off to the left, and the main part of your body is staying forward. It's actually, your body is moving to the right because the vehicle's coming out from underneath you, but you're level. So, this impact strike of a high caliber bullet basically has struck the right side of the vehicle, and it's turned the vehicle to about a 30-40 degree left angle. And as this is occurring, you have to adjust it because you're going sideways. Basically, it's, I believe I went to about a full 45 or so, and as standard reaction, I'm going hypersensitive, and then I'm turning the vehicle the wheel clockwise to get the vehicle wheel to go straight again, and get the situation going. And you're trying to compute and figure out what's going on in this situation as this is happening. Keep control of the vehicle. You're again traveling at a really good speed. And as this is happening, you have this bobbling as the right side of the vehicle is just blah, 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 this horrible vibration, and basically you don't have a tire aired up anymore on the right side because a bullet just went right through it. Both sides of it went right through it, and it goes through your fender wall, inside fender wall cavity, goes through, and it goes through and it's hitting A-arms, goes through, it strikes your starter, ended up completely severing the starter cable in half, and then the bullet hits off of the another part of your main block of the engine and ricochets off someplace. And this is a high-powered bullet that has so much power that it can turn a regular vehicle sideways, and then so you're into this recouping situation to get control of the vehicle, and you're bringing it back around to basically get the front of the vehicle going, and so you're reaching down and doing what you have to do, and so I get the vehicle to basically go straight again, and the whole thing's vibrating. There's no longer a tire on the right side, and I can't immediately stop because I know that I'm getting shot at. Basically, I know that this is a gunfire situation, so I have to keep allowing this vehicle, keeping it at high speed when I know there's no tire on the right side, and this is something you have to go by an instinct of how you can manipulate the vehicle, how you know where to go, and you got all these little snapshots, and this hypersensitivity happening as all of this is going on, and because you got to get further down the road, you got to get way out of range. You got to get 1.5 miles, 2 miles down the road before you can pull off to make sure that you're hopefully out of range of the shooter. It's quite a situation, so to speak. And of course, then I get over the side of the road. I guess I'm a little over 2 miles down the road, and the tire, amazingly, the tire is far more intact than I thought it was. And pretty much I knew that I was screwed, and I was going to have to do things to change the tire, and that wasn't going to happen, basically. So, I had to end up calling for a tow truck, and of course, at first you get out and you're trying to figure out where this gunman is, and what's going on, and you're being very cautious, and but nothing else happened. No more events happened. So somebody just tried to kill you with a high-powered rifle, and this is quite intense, And you have the mechanic, you go in and I got towed off the road and over to mechanic shop, and the mechanic's going in there, the car won't start. Mechanic's like looking on the rack at all this stuff. He's saying, wow, this is really weird. You've got a lower A-arm. He says, this thing's all damaged. He says, the sets have been knocked off. They're all damaged. They're gone. Your starter has been struck by something. Your cable, he's looking at it. He says, this thing's been severed in half. And, he's looking at the tire, and all of a sudden, going like, okay, let's, I says, well, just fix it, fix it and let me know, And so I go out to walk out, and the guy turns around, comes back, and gets me real quick and says, "Hey, I want you to see this." I go out there. The guy's going to show me my tire. He sticks a stick right through the tire. There's these holes on either side, right through the side of the tire. He says, "Dude, somebody tried to kill you, man." I says, "Yeah, I kind of figured that out, you know." And, but, yeah, this was, that was a very intense situation to describe. To be in, actually. And then, to try to convey it to people and let them understand what has happened. And to me, it's, again, it was just another shooter situation. I'd already been in shooter situations. But it is what it is. It was not a fun time, so to speak, but it happened. So, I could imagine with the convicted felon Trump shooting situation that, basically we're going to see that unfold. We'll see what kind of twist happen with that, and but in many ways it's sad. That situation is sad because really the truth is, if our justice system was working, that event never would have occurred, and those people never would be dead. So those people are now dead, and that's because our justice system is not working properly. But that's real life. That's where we're at, and things move forward. And as more and more of the charges that I have that involve, high crimes, misdemeanors, and including treason start coming into play, and we're going to start seeing other candidates and people in office being disqualified, being removed from the election situation. There's going to be a lot of people surprised, and all of a sudden they're going to have a lot of wrenching of the heads. And who is this guy that's basically had a fleet, his campaign fleet destroyed and delayed, which delayed his entire campaign from being able to move in and step up. What is this all about? What did he have? What's the package that's in that campaign? What was so important? How did this happen? Who's involved? And all of those answers, hopefully, will have more, will be answered, so to speak. All those questions will be answered, hopefully. So we're going to cut it off right here. I've got to catch up with some incoming calls. Michael Crosby, presidential candidate for 2024.